Hey everybody, welcome to the David Paul Seymour Show. With me is Sean McVay, and he is the lead singer and guitar player for literally one of my favorite bands, King Buffalo. And they just released a really fucking killer new record, fourth one I think, right, Sean?
Yeah, it's an EP, so it's our fourth release. It's a second EP sort of thing.
Oh, okay. Well, I have to get into that because that's always something I've been curious about. But I just wanted to say real quick first, though, thanks for making the time and coming on, dude. Like, I'm a really big fan, and I'm really psyched to talk to you. So,
Yeah, well, thank you, man.
so just really quick, so I don't forget, because it's something that like I've wondered all like a long time. Like what exactly is it? Because why is it an EP? Because like there's a fuckload of material on Dead Star. Like what? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it was so. We originally were just going to do an EP because we wanted to get something out, and we didn't have the time or the resources to put into a whole full length. And especially, when you do a full length album, you usually have a longer sort of PR campaign before you release it, all that sort of like boring business stuff. But with the way we treat our EPs is we just like to just kind of do it and get it done and kind of get it out pretty quick. So we wanted something out, and we were just kind of itching to release something. And as we were making it, it kind of kept just growing and growing. Like, well, why don't we add this? Why don't we add this? Why don't we add this? Next thing you know, we're at 36 minutes, which is a short full length. And we're like, well, do we call this an EP or a full length? And we decided just because we would just treat it as an EP, keep all the extra bonus stuff and just have it be a long EP. And yeah, that's that boring story.
Well, so that tells me your story, but like, God damn it, that doesn't help me to answer my question. What the hell is an EP? Is there literally I'm just joking with you, but is there literal like a because I always thought growing up like an EP meant like there was maybe like 4 or 5 songs in there instead of having it was like a half album or something like that where but it seems like people have pushed the boundaries of that when you got like I don't know what like the first track is like 18 or 19 minutes on your guys' new album, so it's like it's not like a few singles or something on it, 3.5 minute radio edits or something on there. So
for sure, yeah, I mean there are sort of rules to it.
Okay.
But it's kind of like it's like a relationship sort of thing between the length of the whole thing and the amount of songs. So if it was the same 36 minutes, but it was even like 8 to 10 songs, that would be a full length, or 20 songs. We can make a punk record and have 21 minute songs. It's a full length. So that's I guess that it did end up being 6 songs on the EP that we did. So it's kind of high for EP standards, but we kind of treat one of them as one whole song, like 2 of them as one whole song.
Right.
So it's kind of one whole thing. I don't know. It's kind of a goofy system, but extended play versus long play. Does one really mean different than the other? But I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's like I've always wondered, just because like I want to know like so I don't want to be like an idiot, and not know what I'm talking about so I can speak intelligently when I'm having a conversation with somebody. But in truth, it's like an album's an album. You know what I mean? Even if it's just one song, or you know what I mean. You could have one like what's a Dope Smoker or whatever. It's like an hour long one song. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Whatever, So, well, anyway, like I was saying, man, I fucking love the album, man. Me and my Planet of Doom partner, Tim Granda, we like got really psyched when it came out. We were kind of like I think it was like 3 days we spent just back and forth going, dude, this is fucking awesome. I know, I can't stop listening to this, dude. It's like really cool, And then we got really psyched when it seemed like right after, or at least we found the album, you guys were doing the quarantine sessions on on YouTube, and we're like, hey man, you see that they're doing, so it was just like, it just kept the excitement going, like for a whole week. It was pretty cool. But yeah, so I mean, if you want to talk about the album, I'd love to, hear about the album, and then I'd like to talk with you about the quarantine sessions a little after that. But
sure.
Yeah, so it's a great album. How did it come about? Like, what's kind of like your guys' process for album creation? And because it was like 2 years, I think, maybe, like, between albums. Is that about right? Or
I guess it might have. So I think we released "Long to Be the Mountain" in 2018. Yeah. I'm not sure. I think it was fall of 2018, and then yeah, is that correct?
Yeah.
So I don't think it was like a full 2 years, but yeah, it was like the way the dates fell, it was like a year and maybe a year and a half, maybe a year and 3 months or something. But yeah, so we had done a lot of touring after "Long to Be the Mountain" came out, and so we didn't really work on a lot of new material. We were doing like tour prep, and then obviously on the road a lot. And then we were kind of itching to, start making something new. And most of everything we do starts with just some jams. Like we get in the room together, and I record all the jams, and we just kind of play, and I take them home, listen to everything, whittle stuff, and like, oh, that 5 minutes was cool, that 5 minutes sucked. Like, let's cut this, cut this stuff together, and kind of start to shape it. But for this one, we were kind of feeling a little bit like we were a little bit in a rut. So we started to do some things differently. And we're kind of trying to figure out some new tricks to sort of shake up the process a little bit for us. So really the only one that was written as a jam was Red Star Part 1. That was, we had just kind of jammed it out and, put that whole structure together. And then when we got to Part 2, we naturally ended up in that fast part, but we didn't really know where to go. And so we kind of just, like in the crappy demos of just like the jam recordings, it's just like we're riding on that chord the whole time and didn't really know where to go, and it kind of just falls apart. And then I took that idea home and sat down with my guitar and my laptop, and I put together the song structure for Red Star Part 2 and the vocals and everything, and then that became a song. The rest of the record was pretty much done sort of piecemeal. So Echo of a Waning Star and Dead Star were two songs that I had written on acoustic guitar at home, and I kind of put them all together and brought them to the band from there. Yeah. Ida Karine was an idea I came up with in a jam session, and it's in that, it's in like 5/8, so it's pretty fast, so it's a kind of a strange shuffle, sort of a weird groove. And so we got it, but we were only able to really do it for like 40 to 50 seconds at a time. I'm just like of that sort of main theme. Yeah. And it would just fall apart. So then I took that home, and then I built it out into making the full song. And I, in the process of kind of, working on it at home by myself, I was getting a little frustrated, and that's when I came up for the second half riff. I was like, I wonder if I'd be able to put these two together to make one song out of this. And I kind of roughly chopped something together, and I sent it to the guys. I'm like, is this a crazy idea? Do you think we could pull this off, or is this like the kind of thing we'll only be able to do in the studio? Like, oh, that's cool. We should try it. So we pursued it, and I'm pretty stoked with how that one came out. And then Ecliptic was actually, that was back to that EP LP conversation. Ecliptic was added in because we were right around 34 minutes, I think. And they're like, well, we could add a little more time, and we could, or I think it was right around 32, 33 minutes before Ecliptic was added. And I was like, well, I have this synth track that I've been kind of into the idea of doing something with. Like, if you guys are cool with it, I could put something together and we could see how it fits in the context of the record. And they're like, yeah, let's see what happens. Put it together, listen to the whole thing. And we thought it added a lot. We ended up not calling it a full length. We treated it still as an EP, but we liked what it brought to the whole release, so we kept it in there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Watching the quarantine shows, that was really interesting to me because I haven't had the opportunity to see you guys live before, and it was really cool seeing like, and I guess getting like an idea of like, how you guys play the parts and what it would be like live. I mean, on it is live, but the writing process, like for you guys, it just seems really like it's got to be really cool in the jamming stuff, like to be a fly on the wall, because you'll loop some stuff and then go off and play the Korg little guy and make all the cool little sounds, and you can tell I know all the technical terms, but like like it just amazes me as a lay person, an outsider's perspective, looking at you guys and whatever. Like I can't imagine, like, for instance, like running through your mind, like, all right, man, I'm gonna let this go. Now I'm gonna dive over here and play this. You know what I mean? And it like it fits. It's not like willy-nilly. It's like perfect soundscapes, like all in the right places. And it's like with all those little toys at your disposal, it's like I guess you get used to, your brain starts thinking in those ways to like jump around to different things and try different stuff like that when you're in the middle of a jam or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, usually when we're jamming, that stuff is pretty minimal. You can fall apart pretty quick. So it's pretty rare that, like, during a jam, I'll be able to, like, pop over it. A lot of it, and it's interesting, for the Dead Star quarantine session, we had never played any of these songs live in front of anyone ever. And like I said, a lot of the record was written sort of piecemeal, different than we usually write. So like Ida Karani, we had to figure out how to do it live. We had to, so that was the first time that video is the first time anyone's ever heard us play it live, like in front of anyone. Because cool. even when we recorded it, we did it all individually, and we had, like I said, it was a kind of a new approach for this record. A lot of the older stuff was definitely more like jam oriented, jam written, but we got to try to keep things fresh. We don't want to keep rehashing the same sort of thing, so that's why we tried some different things.
Well, that's really cool, man. Like I literally, when I was watching it, I was thinking like, God, these guys must sit in this room. How many hundreds of times have they gone over this song, rehearsing it? In the practice space where they even went and recorded it, and then they had it all dialed in, and now they're playing it. It's like that never would have crossed my mind that like, those guys went like so. It really, you guys kind of put it together in the studio as a product, and not necessarily like you played that song play through like 100 times in your practice space before you recorded it or whatever, right?
Yeah, no, none of them we did that with, except for Red Star Part 1. Yeah. And I think maybe, yeah, we did Part 2 once but I wrote that at home and then brought it to the guys, and so that we kind of all learned it. And then, so yeah, Red Star 1 and 2 were the only ones that we like played a bunch of times together. But even that, there was a lot that ended up changing during the recording process, just because it was the kind of thing that was, it was really reliant on a lot of sort of effects and weird stuff happening. That was really, as we were recording it was like, how are we going to be able to capture these weird, unpredictable things?
Yeah.
And then have them also kind of be manageable and predictable and reproducible, so when we go to play this song live, it doesn't sound completely foreign, Right. And so that was, so we had the parts and the general idea. I mean, especially for me, the guitar parts were very sort of loose. They're really more atmospheric than they are, performative, I guess. Like there's a couple melodies here and there, but for the most part, it's tweaking effects and weird, blooms and stuff. So it was that, it's where when it came time to record it, I had to really sort of refine that and figure out how to make it interesting, while also like practical,
Yeah.
But yeah, and Yeah, it was really cool. And our the guy who mixed the record, Grant Husselman, he does front of house for us. He mixed the record, and what he did with the effects and the vocals was amazing. I just kind of like told him to have fun with it, and he sent that back the first draft back with a bunch of the crazy reverse and all that cool stuff. And I was like, yeah, he nailed it. So.
That's cool to have people on your side like that, man. That can, take your existing art and bring it a little further along, or do things you wouldn't have thought of or whatever.
Yeah, totally. I mean, he was a godsend for this record. We were kind of, we had a self-imposed deadline because we wanted to get this record out before this spring so that we could have it for tour. Which, so I was a little bit like when everything got postponed, I, smashed my head into a brick wall about 40 times because it was getting really down to the deadline. It was really stressing me out because I do the production and, the recording, and I usually do the mixing, but it just got too close to the wire and I was too stressed out with it that I contacted Grant. I was like, hey man, are you able to do a quick turnaround if you did the mix on this? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And, he did an amazing job. I couldn't be happier with what he did. And especially like taking that load off my shoulders at the time, because I was in a pretty dark place.
Yeah.
You listen to the same songs, a couple hundred times, and you hear every little thing,
Yeah.
I can hear you fucking breathe, man. Like, I can hear you rattle your stick. You're like, it's gotta go. We gotta recut it,
Yeah. Yeah. You got to have somebody to just step in and take all that shit off your shoulders and close the deal. Cause otherwise fucking overthink it to death. And then
totally
you don't even like it anymore.
Yep.
That's cool. That quarantine session you guys did, is that like your guys' actual like practice space and everything?
That's our spot. That's our studio. That's where all of our records have been recorded.
Yeah.
That's where we practice. That's our spot. We hung up some curtains to make it look less shitty, but I don't know if it really
I dug the curtains, man. No, I got that sense that must have been the deal. That's where you guys do all your.
Yeah, behind the curtains are crumbling plaster, paint peeling walls, and cracked windows, and we were like, yeah, we can't show this to the people. This looks terrible. So hung up some curtains that didn't go far enough, so you could see that you could still see parts of the walls, which whatever.
Yeah,
it's real life, man.
It is. Yeah, my background is an architect. Well, originally, I spent like 20 years doing that, so it's like my eye is keen on all those kinds of things, and I was like, yeah, it's funny. Even noticing the little shots of the wall that you could get, kind of peeking through.
I mean, the building is really fascinating. We're really lucky to be able to be in this space. We're the only band in the building, but it's a big concert venue, and we're in the, we have a space hidden in it. And so a lot of our records utilize a ton of the building's natural reverb. So when we're recording, we'll usually just do it late at night, open the door, throw mics out in this giant hallway, and that's the reverb.
Right.
So it's a really cool, old dilapidated building that we're really lucky to be in there. We hate having to haul our gear up 3 flights of stairs, but it's worth it.
Yeah. No, it seems like that'd be a really cool place. And you guys are, so that's you guys are in upstate New York, is that right?
Yeah, we're in Rochester. I don't know if you're familiar with the area, but we're about 45 minutes to an hour east of Buffalo, an hour west of Syracuse, right on Lake Ontario, pretty much right across from Toronto.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. I've never been I've only been to New York once in my whole life anyways, and that was predominantly just Brooklyn and Staten Island I went to, but
so we're like 7 hours away from
that. Oh, I know. Yeah. I've only been to New York once anyway, so I certainly haven't been upstate, but cool. I hear it's beautiful.
It is right now. It's you know, the stuff of dreams. It's low 70s, sun shining, all the trees are blooming and budding. It's amazing. So
yeah. Sounds like where I'm at. Kind of
where are you located?
Minneapolis.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's probably very similar, I would imagine.
Yeah.
It's another shitty gray day though. I mean, it wants to get nice. All the flowers are in bloom and everything's green and all that, but it's just, spring rain.
Yeah. Well,
day.
yeah, I mean, the weather just turned for us. Up until about a couple days ago, it was like 40 degrees and raining for like a week or two straight. It was awful. Like high 30s and rain. I was just like, dude, this sucks. Like, yeah, I can deal with snow and I can deal with heat. I hate cold rain. It's like my least favorite thing.
Oh, I hear you, man. I'm tired of all of it, to be honest. My wife and I have got dream. We want to move out to California, in the area she's originally from. But one of these days. But so you were born and raised there? Is a whole band from there, or what's the deal?
Yeah, we're all from here. I think the other guys were born and raised here. I was born in Connecticut, but we moved here when I was really young. So yeah, grew up outside of the city in a rural suburb. The other guys both went to high school together, closer to the city. And then in our early to or mid 20s, we all sort of found each other through the local scene here, the rock scene, and we're all in various bands and stuff, and through a bunch of tumultuous normal rock scene stuff, we ended up eventually becoming a band.
Oh, so glad you did.
Yeah, it's cool.
I really think you guys are like a band's band. Not that you sound like them in any kind of way, but like a Rush or something like that, where it's like every guy in the band holds his end down pretty goddamn well. You know what I mean? And like you're as a former bass player, like your bass player blows my mind too, man. His runs are just so sweet and almost like jazzy. Like I would imagine like that guy's got a little jazz influence under the hood maybe or something, but
I mean, I don't want to speak too much for him, but I would say no, he doesn't. But he just does. He kind of just wings it. He just kind of. I remember. So the first, me and Dan were in a band before King Buffalo. We were in a band together, and I remember like the first jam session, the first time like he came to play with us, and it went pretty well. And we were talking a bit all after it, and I was like, so do you want to like be in this band? Do you want to like do this? And he's like, yeah, but I'm going to tell you, I'm never going to play the same thing twice. Like I'm never going to play a song the same way twice. Yeah. And I was like, okay, fine. That's obviously a bit of an over exaggeration.
Yeah.
But like, it's, I always remember back to that, he kind of, goes with what he's feeling at the time. And sometimes it produces amazing results.
Yeah. I like that. I like that idea. Never playing the same thing twice or whatever. Yeah, I can't. It seemed like it'd be a lot of fucking work to sit and like map out that, and then you lose the feeling that you have, and like you said, in the moment, or whatever. And
yeah,
no, it's cool. No, I mean, it's like you guys are kind of like that band's band, like a Rush or somebody like that, where it's like it's a great like power trio. Like everybody holds down their end, and like you guys obviously write good tunes and play well together. But I think everyone brings their weight. Like there wouldn't seem like a need for a fourth or fifth person in the band, and it seemed like it would just muddy it up. And it always amazes me too, a trio that can sound so full like that, and no, it's great, man.
I mean, it's one of the things that I think is like a bit of a blessing and maybe a bit of a curse is that none of us are really like virtuosos, right? Like none of us are like super proficient players, so we have to do a lot with the things we have. So that's why I use try to be unique with the way I use certain effects, and try to use an interesting voicing. And same thing with Dan and Scott. Like none of us, we could never stand next to the guys from Rush, and we'd look like toddlers with our instruments in our hands. but we're able to put it together in a way, and I think that's helped us as, you know, as a trio, to sort of sound bigger than a trio, because like I'm not capable of writing like super complicated, amazing harmonic and melodic progressions that are like pushing new boundaries, right? Like I know, so it's like, well, I can't do that, but what I can do is I can make this really cool delay, and, and I can make it sound cool, and
Yeah.
you know, so it's fun.
Well, my money's on if you guys were playing and Rush was catching your act, you know, or they stumbled across your quarantine videos on YouTube. I think they dig it, man. I mean, it's not all about like virtuosity all the time. I mean, some people can have that all day long and never have that like feeling vibe, and you guys like have that in ample, you know, quantity. And it's like you put on any of your albums or you watch, you know, any of the videos or whatever, and it's like, oh, it's just saturated in like feeling and vibe. And like you can't teach that in fucking music school or, you know, in lessons or whatever. That is unique to people like you guys. And so I think
thanks, man.
yeah, don't downplay. I don't think you were, but yeah, and I've always been a fan. You know, I'm certainly like, for my end, I'm not like the greatest artist that ever came down the highway, but like it's all about just using what you got, you know, and making
Yeah,
you know,
for sure. I mean, I guess like I guess the analogy I'll use is like, you know, I don't think of things like I guess maybe this isn't the best analogy, but I tend to try to think of things sort of more of like from like a film perspective, you know, like setting like you said, setting a mood, you know, rather than, you know, sort of like maybe a classical composer's perspective of like, you know, theory and textures and like, you know, playing with those. Or I'm just like, well, I want there to always be a movie playing like during our songs. I want people to be able to just melt in their couch, close their eyes, and have, you know, have a movie, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that is a good analogy. You kind of guys, there's a lot of bands like that, and I think you guys fall for like that. I wouldn't have thought of that. That it's like a good movie soundtrack. You know what I mean? Like I could see this playing against like a really like good film. You know, it's like a good art film where it has moments where it makes you cry and stuff like that. You know, but then like has moments where you're like, yeah, this is badass. You know what I mean? So. That's cool, man. So you guys started when was the kind of launch date of King Buffalo?
Oh man, I think it was 2013.
Okay.
And we were actually a 4-piece then. So we started as a 4-piece. And after a while, I only think it was like 6 months or so. Our 4th member, who is the other singer and guitar player, he's on that first demo that we did.
Okay.
Life sort of pulled him in a certain direction, and he ended up moving. And you know, he's still one of our best friends to this day. You know, there wasn't any like weird, hard feelings or anything. So, but when he left, it kind of sent us into like searching mode. Like we didn't really know what we were going to do. We didn't know if we were going to add a 4th. We ended up deciding just to stay the 3 of us, but then we had to find a new sound because all of a sudden there was this big space that, you know, there was a crazy jangly psychedelic guitar before that, you know, we had to find a way to fill it. So it took us a while to come up with what would be sort of I would define as like what is now King Buffalo. Mm-hmm. And so I always look at the defining, really like the launch of King Buffalo is when we released Orion. And that's like during that is like when we found what our sound was going to be. That was sort of the end result of a couple years of figuring out what the hell we were doing.
Right.
And then, so yeah, I guess I think of really as the start of King Buffalo as Orion, which is 2015 or 16, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I have to. Is the stuff with the other guy available? Is it out there?
Yeah, I think so. It's not pressed to vinyl or anything, but I think it's on. You know, I think it's on Bandcamp and Spotify and all that stuff. it's just called like King Buffalo. I think we just called it the demo. It's just 3 songs.
Oh, I see it. The green cover.
Green and black, yeah. And so, yeah. I mean, I think it was really cool. There's definitely a lot of a way different sound. He probably did the majority of the, his name is Randall. He did the majority of the singing on the record. He did, well, one of them was dual harmonies the whole time. So me and him singing the whole time. One of them was primarily him. And the other one was primarily me.
Okay.
So, yeah, but it was cool. It was just it was a way different sound. And he's still performing. He's in have you heard of Empath? He plays an Empath now.
No, that's
which is a cool band out of Philly. So
okay. Well, speaking of vocals and all that, like who are some of your influences? I mean, you've got a crazy, unique, I think, voice, and like it's something I enjoy listening to, and which I always think it's super weird, like getting an opportunity to tell another, grown man, like I really love to listen to your voice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Like I even still, I tend to think of myself more as a guitar player who sings than like a singer, than as a singer. But and most of my favorite singers are that, like I guess as like far as guys that like I try to emulate, David Gilmour, Roger Waters, I like Ozzy a lot. He was a big Sabbath was a huge influence growing up. But I kind of just I take that mantra of being a guitar player who sings, and I don't really have a ton of like range and chops. Like I'm not going to join a singing competition and be able to hold my own at all. I just try to work with what like we were saying before, work with what I got, and keep things pretty simple, and just try to bring something to the song, I guess.
Yeah. No, I like that using what you got thing, man. It's so funny. I don't know how you feel about it, but I tend to like people who are that. I tend to enjoy listening to things that the people in that band are more that way. There seems to be a lot more passion than, like we were talking about, the virtuoso guy, or the guy who's fresh off the wind from The Voice or something like that. It's just never. I saw a great thing, like literally just last week. It was this old video clip of David Byrne from the Talking Heads, like interviewing himself. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was like back.
No. But it sounds right.
Yeah, he's like interviewing himself, and the one guy goes, "You don't." The one guy, it's him, but he's like, "You don't have a great singing voice. Why is that?" or something like that. And then it goes to David Byrne, and he's like, "Well, I don't know." And I think he literally says, like, "I just work with what I've got," and he's like, and then he says something like, I tend to feel like the better the voice, the less I trust what the singer is saying. And I was like, whoa, that's fucking brilliant, man.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's funny that's put that way. That's a good way to put it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. I mean, there's like market studies, like one of the things that record labels traditionally look for, like all these one-hit wonders that have like a strange sounding voice.
Yeah.
And it's because it's statistically proven, like audiences are drawn to a unique sounding voice. So even if it's not a good voice, if it's unique, you can slap it on the radio and you can sell,
Sure.
Which is interesting. But I tend to think, which maybe this is like kind of what David Byrne was getting at. I don't know. I would speak for a genius, but I tend to think with like all things music, you can almost always simplify the part that you're playing, and it's good. Like it's better than if you keep it complicated. And I tend to think if you're like, same thing, like you're talking like virtuoso guitar players, like yeah, they're amazing, but I don't necessarily want to listen to the songs. Like right. Yeah, you can win a guitar player singing. You can win a singing competition. These runs they're crazy. Wow, that's really impressive. Yeah. That doesn't mean I want to listen to your song. Right. If you just simplify it, it tends to like work more. It kind of seems like it fits more into a puzzle as opposed to, being the on its own island, if that makes sense. Like I know it's like one of the things that like drives me the most nuts is vocalists that like oversing.
Yeah.
Like when I hear a lot of notes and runs, I'm just like, you didn't have to do that.
Oh,
Like I don't know. Maybe maybe it's like grandpa mode, but I don't know. I tend to think even like a lot of like the greats, like Otis Redding wasn't doing crazy runs all over the place. He's just great. James Brown. Like
exactly.
all these guys that are great singers. Even if it's like difficult to do, you can simplify it and still have it be interesting.
I'm totally with you, man.
Agreed. Run like crazy complicated runs are not awesome.
Check that box.
Yeah.
So what's going on for you guys during COVID time? I mean, obviously you were able to do the quarantine thing, so I assume that you guys must live pretty close together. You guys can still get together and write and jam and produce videos and such. So
well, yeah, we all live within a couple miles of each other, and our practice space is, kind of near all of us, so we can easily get up there. And we're lucky enough that it's a huge room. So we're all able to stay about 10 feet from each other.
Yeah,
So that's good. Everyone is pretty much isolated, working from home. So that's good. So we do get together. We keep our distance, and we are, at this point, not much else to do besides start trying to write new stuff. We're not prepping for tour. We can't do anything like that. So we're just working on some new material. As good as we can, trying to come up with content ideas just to keep churning out some stuff. And I mean, we're just hoping that this thing can get under control and everyone can be happy and healthy and safe, and we can have a cool life again.
Yeah, I'm sure it's coming. I know a lot of states are, green lighting the get, go out there and do your thing. I mean, some of them are just full on back to normal.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing I just keep thinking is, even with all that, I mean, we're at like the lowest of the low of essential businesses, like realistically, like shows are going to be the last thing to come back, I mean, they'll have sports before they have, like rock shows. And a lot of the things I'm hearing now is like, well, we can do them at reduced crowds. Mm-hmm. And I just think that, to me, that seems crushing to any sort of small or mid-level band that like their revenue comes from touring. Yeah. They're like, it's already so difficult to do that. Yeah. And you're barely making money doing it, that you're going to say, okay, but now we're only going to allow half the people that would have come to come, which is, I mean, if half, you can't do that, like it does, you're just losing, or you have to jack the prices up, which that also sucks. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, that's not fair. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I want it to go away. I also know it's a real thing. I just want everyone to be safe and treat this problem with the respect and, I guess, a little bit of fear,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we've all heard now, at this point that, concerts, when they come back, at bare minimum, it's going to be, sometime next year.
Yeah.
We're probably looking at like literally a full year. It's probably going to be like the summer of next year, or, when, or spring or whatever, when things open up again. And so, yeah, I mean, we'll just have to wait. And like I said, some states are opening up, but it's limited. Even like here in Minnesota, I mean, a lot of stuff has started to open back up, but kids aren't going back to school, which would make a lot of sense anyway, to just go back for like a few weeks or something at the table, but, the restaurants and bars aren't allowed to be open yet. So I'm assuming, no music. But then you got that thing too, like hopefully by that time next year, when things do open up for concerts or events like that, like people will be in a place in their mind where they're cool to even go. You know what I mean? Like they don't feel like, well, hey, this is open, but I'm not sure I want to go partake in that. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to get, you know.
For sure. I mean, I wouldn't blame anyone for, not rushing right out to go to a concert. I mean, as much as all these artists are relying on it, it's also like, yeah, your safety and your family come first, man. And if just wait for the next one. I don't know.
Yeah.
You just kind of want to sit back, let everyone kind of go do their thing, and sit back, see what happens.
Yeah.
And, I'll go in the next wave.
Yeah, yeah. You guys go out and come back and report and tell us how.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, well, and I've said this numerous times on some of these episodes that I've taped with other people that like my feeling is just like we're just human beings, man, and we'll revert back to our old ways. Give us a little bit of time. Even the people are saying now, like, I don't know if I can ever. I've literally heard people. I don't know if I can ever go back to a concert again, or get in that situation again. It's like, yeah, you will. That's just human nature. Given enough time, like we just kind of go, hey man, you know what? Things are cool. Let's just go back, and because we're just social creatures, and that's what we enjoy. I mean, we enjoy music, but we enjoy being together and being kind of close and intimate, And
yeah, I mean, this isn't the first bug that's swept through humanity.
Right.
It sucks. It's the first thing we've had to deal with in our lifetimes. It's really sucks, and eventually we'll figure out. We'll get vaccines, and over time this will become less serious as long as new ones don't keep popping up. And
right.
Yeah, like greeting customs that we have. I was watching something with my girlfriend the other day, and like that thing that people kiss each other on the cheek.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, oh, hi, it's good to see you, that sort of thing, and like handshakes, and it's like, yeah, that's done. That's never happening again. Like, I mean, it's and it's going to be hard for a lot of people to figure out. Even still, like you meet someone, and your instinct is to shake a hand. It's like, yeah, we're not doing that. Like it's crazy. So it's gonna take some getting used to, and it's fine. It's not the end of the world. Not being able to shake someone's hand doesn't mean it's the end of the United States of America and that the communists won.
Right. No, I agree. I think it's wild going out in public now and seeing all these people wearing the masks and stuff. I remember like thinking how odd that always to me was, seeing stuff, like on media or whatever, where, you'd see people in Asia, wearing a lot of masks, or even taking flights, here and seeing, they're wearing masks. And it's like, man, that sucks, dude. I don't know about wearing masks and all that shit, but now we're all wearing them, and I'm going out and I'm wearing one, and everybody around me's got one on, and I'm like, wow, this is wild, dude. It's like now we're in this whole other era,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, man. It's freaky. I remember when it first was, when it was like a day or two before they announced the lockdown, and me and my girlfriend were getting a little stressed out, so I went to like stock up, do a huge stock up on stuff. I was like, I have a feeling that the shit's about to hit the fan. Like we need to get some stuff. We got a ton of food, like dry, like non-perishable food. And we ended up not having to go grocery shopping for like a month, which was great. Yeah. But even like then, it was really stressful because like masks weren't mandatory then. No one was really wearing them. But there's a lot of Asian Americans wearing masks because like their family, they've dealt with this sort of thing before. And so they knew it. And what was really stressful was the people, like, I mean, not to stereotype, but like the white guys at the grocery store who were pissed that people were wearing masks, and they're like having a temper tantrum at other people wearing masks. And I'm just like, dude, you are not helping the situation. You need to like reel it in. Like you're yelling in a grocery store right now that masks don't work. And then granted, of course, 2 days later, it was like, wear the mask because they work,
Right.
But it was, I don't know. That's the stuff that gets really stressful. But
yeah, that's nutty. Well, I don't know. We spend enough time talking about all that gloomy stuff, I guess.
Yeah. Raise the sunshine.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time, like, and I really, like I said, I really like the new album a lot, man. I like you guys as a band a lot, and I'm very thankful. Thanks for coming on and having a chat with me. It was really cool.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah. So I hope, maybe you guys can write another killer EP while this is going on, and and who knows, you know.
Yeah, we'll see. We're I don't know. We'll see what ends up shaking out. We're hoping to come out of this with something. It's a little tough. We just like burnt down pretty hard doing Dead Star, so it's like, oh, okay, now we'll just gotta come up with something new again.
Yeah.
So trying to find, I'm like not using my normal guitars and trying to like figure out a way to, you know, switched out my pedal board, put all new like pedals on it to be like, okay.
Imagine those guys coming in one day and you're just sitting there with a big fucking sitar and you're like, and they're like,
oh my God, I would love that. That's like legit.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, that's been on my like bucket list forever, but they're expensive, man.
Oh, that's a crazy instrument. That's got a lot of shit on it. Look, yeah, I could see. You just one of those things in life you look at and you go, yeah, I could see that being expensive. I could see.
Yeah,
it, you know?
Yeah. Even like they have like the electric guitar sitar ones, like the old what are they, like Jerry Jones sitar from like the 70s, like Redbone used it on the Come and Get Your Love, you know, it's like an electric guitar.
Oh, I had no idea.
And they've been used a lot through like rock music, but it's just like you play it like a normal electric guitar, but it has the sitar and has the resonator strings. But like the original ones, they're like super expensive. You know, they're a couple grand. They have knockoff ones that are starting to crop up, but I haven't actually. It's the kind of thing that every time I think about doing, I'm like, you know, do I want to spend $500 on this thing that I'm going to use for like one song? Like I gotta know I'm going to be able to use, you know. So
yeah, you're gonna have to work that into the act, man. Like,
yeah.
Especially if you go drop $2,000 on a good one, you know what
I mean? Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're committed at that point, dude.
And I would love one, and it's still on like my. I still have like my watch list on my Reverb account, and like they're still there. They're always still there. And every time I open up Reverb, I'm like,
yeah. Oh, that's cool, man. Yo, see, I imagine not topping, following up, you know, an album like Dead Star is tough on anybody. You know, it's like it's a really good album. I mean, they're all good and they're all equally good, but like that's yet another good album. And it sounded like at the beginning you were talking about a new process for creating it and writing it, and you know, you got to be feeling like, well, all right, man, how do we do? And you guys seem like a fucking quality over quantity kind of band too, you know. So it's yeah, no rush, you know. We'll all wait for the next album, and we'll know it'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, we got some ideas cooking that we're excited about, but we're definitely, you know, and I don't say this disparagingly, like self-disparagingly, but we know we move kind of slow, but we do that kind of intentionally. You know, as we're putting stuff together, we kind of want to know what's going to make this batch of songs unique. You know, we got to kind of like shape it ahead of time rather than write a bunch of songs and release them. So we know we move a little slow, but we'll figure something out.
That's good, man. That's the way to do it. Keep the quality there. So, hey, man, I appreciate you coming on. I don't want to tie up your whole afternoon. So
no worries, but thank you so much. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
You as well, man. Thanks a bunch. Have a great weekend. And
thank you.
Talk soon.
Yep. Stay safe and healthy out there, man.
You too, man.